Welcome to Bedtime Stories. The Brilliant Peasant. Once upon a time there was a poor peasant whose most prized possession was a big fat goose. One day, to his wife's dismay and astonishment, he announced that he was going to give the goose away. "What are you thinking?" his wife cried. "We have children to feed. How can you give away the only thing we own?" "Never mind," said the poor peasant, "you must trust me. I have an idea." That very afternoon, he took his goose with him and set off to visit the emperor's palace. When he arrived, he offered the emperor his goose. "I thank you very much," the emperor said when he received his gift. "But tell me, good man, how would you suggest I divide this goose? I have a wife and 2 sons and 2 daughters. The peasant smiled. "Very simple," he said. "You are the head of the house, so you must have the head of the goose." "And my wife?" the emperor asked. "She sits upon her chair and oversees your household. It's obvious, then, she shall have the tail." The emperor smiled at the poor peasant's wit. "And my sons?" he asked. "Ah," said the peasant, "they each shall have a leg, for it is their task to use their limbs to walk in their father's footsteps. And your daughters will each have a wing because one day too they will fly away from your home to live in their homes of husbands." "And the body?" asked the emperor. "Ah, that I shall keep," said the peasant, "for those who give gifts must also receive." The emperor laughed. "Thank you for making my day more pleasant," he said, and he sent the peasant home with his goose and a bag full of money. When the peasant returned home and told his wife the tale, she could not believe her ears. "What good fortune," she said. And she quickly ran to tell her neighbor, for she was a talkative woman, and she was happy for a chance to brag to her neighbor, who had for years flaunted her wealth. "My husband gave a goose to the emperor," said the wife. "And he was so grateful, he rewarded us with a bag full of coins." The neighbor's wife ran to her husband. "We must also take a goose to the emperor," she said. Our neighbor won a bag of coins for giving him a goose. The rich peasant frowned. "We cannot let him outdo us," he said. "I shall take 5 fine geese for the emperor, and we'll see who is to be rewarded." That very evening he took 5 geese the family owned, put them in a crate and went to see the emperor. "I've brought you 5 geese, he said proudly. "And how do you suggest I divide 5 geese among the 6 members of my family?" the emperor asked. "Well, then, let's see," said the neighbor, scratching his head. He thought and thought, but no matter how hard he thought, he could not imagine how to fairly divide 5 among 6. The emperor sent for the poor peasant. "Can you tell us how to divide these 5 geese among my whole family?" he asked. "Easy indeed," said the poor peasant. He picked up one of the geese and handed it to the emperor. "This one shall be for you and your wife, and that will make you 3. He picked up another goose and handed it to the 2 sons. "Now you are 3, he said to the boys. And he picked up a 3rd goose and handed this one to the daughters. "And you 2 have also become 3, he said. Everyone smiled, but the neighbor looked at the 2 remaining geese. "And what of these?" he asked. "I shall take those," said the poor peasant, "and that will make me 3 as well." The neighbor was horrified. "What about me?" he asked. The emperor laughed and said, "Perhaps in the future you will not be so quick to envy your neighbor," he said, and he sent the rich man on his way with no geese and no coins but only a hard-earned lesson. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good night.